everybody, it's Doug here, Doug Mystic Guy on Board Game Geek, getting ready to bring you a playthrough session of a new board game called The Witcher adventure game. This is going to be appropriately our Learn to Play session. I have not played the physical board game of this yet, but we are about to. I've played the online version of the digital version of it, so I do have a fairly good grasp of the game, even though there's some subtle things in the rules for the board game version that I still have to work out and make sure we're doing right. It's going to be a lot of fun. Now, if you don't know anything about The Witcher, it's based on a book series that became a video game, that became a board game, that they made a video of the video game of the board game. But anyway, as confusing as that sounds, what we're going to be doing is playing the adventure game designed by Ignacy Swerchek, who runs Portal Games. He's an awesome designer, and this game is one of his creations, which is evident. It's pretty neat, and the structure is pretty cool. So I did the basic setup. I'm going to show you kind of what that's all about. We're first going to take a look at the board. In this video, we're going to talk about the setup and getting started. Getting our quest. Maybe I'll take one turn in this video, and then I'll save the rest of the turns for later. We're going to play with two characters, and I'll show you what those are and what their abilities are as well, and how that works in the game. But let's get started by first talking about the board. It's a big board. It's a pretty big board, but it doesn't have space for everything. So what is actually on the board? Well, first off, there's the world that The Witcher lives in, and I don't remember the name of the world specifically. I remember that Geralt is from Rivia, which is down here, and it's a pretty dark gothic world, though the names of some of the characters and some of the artwork wouldn't suggest that. It's a pretty dark world storyline that you see along with this. But this is the world, and basically we're going to travel around the world trying to complete quests. And in this session we're going to play that the first player to complete 2 quests marks the end of the game. That doesn't mean they're necessarily the winner, because it's a victory point based game, but basically when that happens, when that triggers, we're going to see who wins, and it'll be based on 2 quests being completed. And we'll look at the quest cards in just a moment. But basically, right here we have Triss Marigold, and she's one of the main characters from the story. Now, this is a completely competitive game, though these are allied characters. They can actually, in some strange ways, cooperate with each other, even though they don't cooperate really. They're trying to win as far as the game is concerned. But be that as may, Triss starts in Wazima, and basically, whatever her quest is, we don't know what it is yet because I haven't drawn them yet. I'm going to do that as the final part of our setup before we play today. But we're going to move around this board. You see all these icons. Those are leads. Those are leads that help us get to our quests, and we're going to collect those leads as we go to the various locations on the board. Now, in a 2-player game, we're not really going to run out of space. So even in a 4-player game, you can get all 4 players in a single location. This just shows you that there's places to put the figures as you go. So, for instance, if I were to come here, this has a blue/purple. I could choose between the blue and the purple space. Now, whereas if I landed in Sintra, I would get both a red and a purple, I believe, lead. And then what we can do later is combine those leads to give us proof or evidence of our quest. And I'll show you how that works much later. Now, we also have one of the biggest decks we're going to interact with, if the online game is any indicator, is this here. This is the what do they call it? I want to call them awful events, but it's basically what they are. They're awful events. They are called Foul Fate token, or Foul Fates. Now, the Foul Fate cards, we're going to end up with Foul Fate tokens on our player boards. We're going to end up with them out in the world. In fact, if you look here, we already have some. Now, you can see there's monster spaces as well. But in the starting setup, these 3 spots here that represents locations on the board, which you can tell by the symbol on them, as well as, I don't know how well you can see this in the video, but there are symbols on them that represents, for instance, the yellows. You see it here, here, here. So if you're in one of these locations and you have to place a Foul Fate token or a monster, that's where it would come. That's where it would go. Would be in there, and that represents all the spaces for that region. But basically, after we take all of our actions, we're going to encounter those and turn them in for these cards, these Foul Fate cards that do nasty things. They're not good. But we have lots of things to counteract them and good things that we can do. in order to react to those. We will also be dealing with monsters, and monsters are in the form of these tiles. On the other side of this tile is a creature. I'm not going to look at it now. It's already set up for play in one of the regions, and we'll have to battle those creatures. Now, one of our characters, Geralt of Rivia, is the Witcher himself, and he's very good at combat against monsters. He's got 3 special dice that allow him to do better in fighting, whereas Triss is a wizard, a mage, and she's better at magic type quests and doing spells to deal with encounters. So, but we also have these awesome reward cards up here that we'll get that will help us counteract things. And I'm not going to stay zoomed out like this. I'm just showing you the board. But the other thing we can do is we can take a series of actions. So on our turn, we're going to take a couple of actions. To demonstrate that, I'm going to zoom down on one of the player boards and kind of talk about those actions. So this is the player board for Geralt, our Witcher. And you can see that we have some things here. These are the actions that he can take. And we're going to place these tokens. So if I take the action, I'm going to say, bam, I took this action. There's a spot here, because you get 2 actions a turn, but you can't take the same one each turn. And there you see there's a spot there with a skull and a spot there with a heart. The skull represents foul fate, and the heart represents wounds. If you ever place a wound on one that already has a foul fate token, you're going to have basically a grievous wound, a very bad wound that you'll have to get rid of. And you can when you rest. But the actions are you can travel, and travel means you're going to move from one zone, one sector along the path on the board that I showed you to another. You can actually move 2 sectors, but if you do that, you automatically have to take a foul fate token. And man, I really hate them. The other thing you can do is investigate, and that means when you do land at a place, after you pick up your lead token, you can investigate and draw from a deck of cards that are investigations, basically representing the same thing: combat, magic, and I think it's diplomacy or something like that. In the 3 types of investigations you can do in your area, and they're like little mini quest things you got to accomplish. Then you can develop. Now for Geralt, developing is in these cards, and you're going to end up being able to draw these potions. The Witchers can create these potions that would kill anybody else, but they can absorb them, and they do a variety of things that especially help with combat. Then you can also now this one here, the brew action is special to him. He can brew and add tokens to his potions that he can, up to 3 per potion, that he can then use later. So he just doesn't automatically get to advance. He gets these advancements, then he has to basically power them up. So that's how the actions work. Now there are also some other actions that you can do that are called operations, and I'm going to just read some of those off to you. If you can complete a quest, for example, was one of the operations. You can exchange your leads for proof. Now what does that mean? Well, again, going back to this card, as we collect leads, you see if I collect 3 red leads, those are combat leads for Geralt. Now it's different for every character based on their affinity. He can turn them in for a combat, for proof in combat, or he can turn 5 magic leads into a proof of magic, and 7, I think it's diplomacy, I'll have to look it up, but something like that leads into, I'm going to look it up because I don't want to misguide you on that. That is, yeah, diplomacy. Okay. 7 diplomacy leads into diplomacy evidence. And he also has money. Geralt starts with 3 gold. Not very much. And Triss starts with 5. So now let's go over and look at Triss, because she is slightly different. I do want to show you that. See that the quest deck is right there. So the type of quest you take is going to be for red. And basically you have these extra dice that allow them to do combat. They're pretty cool. But we'll get into that later as we go. Let's look at Triss's board, because she does have something slightly different. Now Triss doesn't have 3 extra dice. She only has 1. But it's really good because it has mostly... There's a lot of cards that will call for you to roll your character special icon. In this case, most of the faces on this die have her special icon. Then there's 2 that allow her to convert symbols, and I'll show you how that works later. But you can see some of the differences here. Now you see the first 3 are all the same: travel, investigate, and develop. But she can prepare, which means when she prepares, she places, just like Geralt brewing potions, Triss can prepare. She can place a token on a spell, and that will allow her to use it later. So that's the different thing for her. Plus she only gets the 1 dice instead of 3. She generally focuses on magic quests, and you can see why. it only requires 3 magic leads for her to get proof in magic. So that's kind of how the characters work. And basically, the last thing that we have to do as part of setup is draw our quest cards. So let's do that, and that'll give you a whole heck of a lot of information on how the game plays. So in drawing some quests for Geralt, we're looking at these are the quests for combat, and we're going to draw 2, and he's going to get to keep 1. Now, I guess theoretically he could draw us another one. So I don't know why he would, because these are focused on what he's capable of doing really well. So let's pull that one out, and I'm just going to. I don't know how well I shuffled these before, so we're going to pull 2 out at random there, and we're going to see what they do, and I'm going to go over each of the sections for you. Okay. Now you can see that he's got 2. This is one as the Wolf Wrangler. It says, high in the mountains, a ferocious pack of wolves has begun tearing caravans to shreds. Let me see, make sure you can see that well. People say a mysterious elf leads them, and he is bloodthirsty as the pack he commands. So his main quest location is he has to get 1 magic proof and 1 combat proof. It says hunt down the wolf wrangler. So first he has to go to Vennerberg, and he has to have those 2 things. Then when he's there in Vennerberg, he has to fight a battle. His enemy is going to be 5 combat with 3 defense. That means that you have to roll all of those to be successful. If you fail in the combat, in other words, you don't kill him, 3 silver, and that means there's bronze, silver, and gold monsters. 3 silver monsters will be in each different region. That's really bad. And if he fails, he's going to suffer an injury. For each defense he's short. Now, he's also got some side quests. And if he succeeds at this, then it's worth 12 points to him, 12 victory points. Okay, now he also gets side quests. He can train for a fight by defeating a single monster of any kind. He can do that anywhere. He can learn what artifact might be giving the Wolf Wrangler the power. In other words, if he spends 3 blue leads, he can do that. Also, he has a support quest. A few hired blades could come in handy. He has to spend 3. Now that means he can do that in support. Someone else can do that in support of him. In other words, Triss could come along and say, I'm going to support you on that, and I'm going to spend the 3 gold, and then they get a bonus 6 victory points, and Geralt would get 3. Okay, but there's consequences. If you slay the Wolf Rider, you're going to get to draw a fortune card and receive 2 blue tokens, lead tokens. Plus, you can see there's the side quest victory points here. Side 3 for 1, 4 for the second one, and 3 and 6 for the support. Just like I was telling you, you get 6 if you're the one that's supported, and 3 if you're the main character. Okay, the other one he has, and I'm not going to spend this kind of time on all of them. I just want to give you an idea of what they do. This one's worth 8 points. It's the Vi of Maribor. It says disturbing tales of giant centipedes have been coming out of Maribor. Now remember, The Witcher is a monster slayer. So this is why that's the focus of his quests. You hope that someone hasn't found a way to recreate one of Alzur's greatest horrors. Okay. Well, the main quest location is he's got to go to Maribor, and he has to have, when he's there, to turn in 2 combat proof of combat. Then he has to slay the foul Podan, fight a battle. Basically, he's got to do another battle. If he fails, there's consequences. He's got 2 side quests: calm the fearful locals, spend 4 purple, basically diplomacy tokens, to calm down the locals. Or he can also hire mercenaries to back him up and spend 3 gold, which would give him the bonuses for the secondary quests. His support quest is you will need some magic on your side. If you want to come out of this alive, the person that can help him can spend 3 blue tokens and gain the extra victory points if they're together in a space, and they have the ability, the items necessary to do that. Then there's consequences. So I think, though, I kind of like this Wolf Wrangler one. It's the combat's a little tougher. We'll have to build them up a little more, but I don't like the thought of needing 4 purple. Well, that's not so bad. I think this one's actually easier. Of course, it's only worth 8 points too. So we're going to go with the Wolf Wrangler. Why not go with the tough one, since we only need 2 to win the game? And now let's look at Triss's. Now Triss, she's got magic quests, right? So we're going to pop out 2 of these. I'll just take that one, and then we'll go flip a few more over, and I'll take that one. Okay, so let's take a look at these and see what they're going to do for Triss Marigold. So we have the Last Wish. It says, an air genie is wreaking havoc in the skies above Tretogor. Enraged from being kept in servitude for so long by an unknown wish holder, the genie won't stop until it grants its third and final wish. Okay, the main quest is we have to go to Tretogor, and we have to turn in a diplomacy and magic proof, discover who holds the last wish, and convince them to use it. Okay, so that's the main quest. The side quest is we can attempt to bind the genie and spend 3 blue leads. And the second one is we can investigate who holds the magic lamp by spending 2 purple leads. We have a support quest. You could use protection. 3 red leads from Geralt would help with that. Basically there's some consequences there. It's worth 12 points. And not to be outdone, I think we're already going to take this one. It says, and then the Riddle of Steel. That one looks pretty easy though. There's no... Wow, that one. See, notice that hers don't have any fighting either in them. They have to do other things. So the main quest is to go to Sherwood. It says the gnome Marcel Schultz's wayward son has run afoul of the underworld. The indebted young gnome might be willing to sell the secret of his father's steel if you can find him. So we have to get 2 magic, and then use the magic to determine, basically cast a spell to use the magic to determine where the son is hiding. The side quests are gather family heirlooms to focus on finding magic. Go to Mahakam. Now when you have a go-to thing, that means that once you go there, you've completed that quest. So it's pretty easy to do. And then learn more about the extraordinary steel by spending 4 red leads. And then there's a support quest for spending some gold. And then of course the consequences of success. So I think I kind of like this Riddle of Steel one. Well, both of them are pretty cool. This one has a greater reward to draw 2 good fortune cards and remove 1 foul fate from each region. And this one says draw a good fortune card and suffer 2 wounds. So I think we're going to take the last wish for her, because why would we want to try and suffer wounds? Now, again, it was an easier quest, but it has some consequences I don't particularly like. So those are going to be our quests, and that's how we're going to start our game. So I think we're going to get right to it and start our first turn with Geralt and see how that goes. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do with Geralt is when he moves to some other... There is a monster. And the last thing you have to do after you've done your actions is encounter the area you're in. So the first thing he's going to do is travel. Well, you know what? I don't think he is. I think he's going to stay where he's at for this first turn. He's going to develop. He's going to take the develop action, which will allow him to draw one of his development cards. I know I did shuffle these up, but I'll do a little more just for our first draw. He gets Zegel's Vigor Potion. At the start of battle, you can spend 1 from this card to re-roll any number of hero dice once during the battle. Okay, that's pretty good. So he doesn't have any tokens on that card, so the next thing he's going to do is brew. So the first thing he's going to do for this turn is get himself set up to be able to do some things. And now what happens when we brew is we're going to take a common token, which are one of these, and we're going to place it right there. Okay, those are his 2 actions, so now he has to encounter the space. And what is in that space? Okay, you can see up at the very top left hand of the board there is a symbol like that. And that symbol matches the symbol that Geralt is in up in Kaer Morhen. Okay, so see up in Kaer Morhen, he's got the symbol. So what he's going to have to do this turn, because he doesn't have a choice, he can't encounter a foul fate, he must encounter this creature and fight it. So let's take a look at the creature that is in that space. Now, he can lose to it. I mean, stuff happens. If he loses to it, it'll still be there. Okay, it says here, you can see that to defeat it, we only need, this is a very simple creature to defeat. This is a drowner. From the game. I remember beating those guys, but basically we need 2 combat dice, 2 combat rolls to defeat it, and 1 defense roll. It says before rolling, suffer a wound. Now the problem with suffering wounds is you got to clear them before you can take. Unlike foul fate tokens, you have to clear these out before you can actually take the action. It's kind of bad. So I think we'll put it in. Currently, we'll put it in the. Oh man, I don't know. We'll put it here in the brew spot right there, and we'll say that is wounded, so he'll have to heal next turn. But now the next thing he's going to do is we're going to roll some dice because we're going to fight this drowner. So here we are at my trusty dice bowl where we're going to have a battle. We're going to take Geralt's 3 special dice. plus the 3 common dice that we use, and we're going to roll them. Now, in this game, unlike a lot of other games where you roll dice for Yahtzee style effects, you don't get any rerolls. Now, we do happen to have, because of Geralt's Zugal's Vigor potion, we do happen to have a reroll, but hopefully we can just do this on the dice he's got, because he's got a lot of combat in this. So yeah, it looks like we did. So again, with the Drowner, we need 2 combat and no defense. So he easily got that. Boom. He also got a special symbol, but that doesn't mean anything. So he doesn't need to use his potion, and he's not going to. So what happens when we are successful? Well, we receive 1 victory point. That's it. If we failed, we want to move this monster to an adjacent region. So we're going to discard that monster, and we're going to give Geralt a victory point. Boom, he's on the 1 spot now. Now, a lot of people say he's overpowered because he's got these 3 extra dice. I don't believe that's the case, because, like I said, Triss doesn't need to fight. She can run away from fights and do a bunch of things to not fight. I think that's the important part for her. But one of the things that I point out on that is that when you're going through this and you start to play their powers, that's when you start to learn that Geralt really isn't as tough as he appears. I do think he's easier for new players, and I think that's important. But I think once you're experienced in the game and you've played it a few times, he's not any more powerful. He's just different, and the other ones have their own benefits. One thing I did forget to do during the setup is to place these up here on the characters' boards based on their support quests. So actually, yeah, his support quest requires money, and Triss's support quest requires red tokens. So that's just to give us reminders to let us know what those heroes need in order to get the support. So now let's go on to Triss's turn. So here we are with Triss, and I'm pretty sure, I think, there's no round limit to this game. It's not like you're playing for rounds. You're playing to complete the 2 quests. So I think we're going to start off much the same way, because we need to get them powered up. So you know what? And I already messed up. When you're drawing for development cards, you can draw 2 and take 1. So I messed that up for Geralt, but that's okay because I like the one he got. But we'll make sure to do it right going forward. Reroll is always good. I can't knock that. Could he have gotten a better one? Maybe, but he's going to do it again. So let's draw 2, and we got the Lodge Ring and the Crow's Shroud. So let's look at this. When this card enters play, place 3 tokens on it. When you spend 1 from one of your spell cards, you may spend it from this card instead. So, oh man, that's too bad. That's a good item to help with spells later. This is Crow's Shroud. When this card enters play, place 1 on it. When you encounter obstacles at the end of your turn, you may spend 1 of these from this card to ignore all obstacles in the region. See, this is how Triss uses her magic to not fight. And so basically it's going to start off with 1 spell, and then we can prepare it, but we're going to have to get rid of this. I think she needs this because she needs to avoid encounters right now. So unfortunately we're going to have to come back to that ring. But what she's going to do next then is prepare, which will allow her to put 1 token on here because there's already 1 supposed to be on there, and a second one on that, so that because she's preparing. And that's going to mark the end of her turn. Now, where is she, and what will she encounter there? Well, here's Triss, and she's in Wazima. See that little symbol's right there. So she's going to encounter another monster that matches that symbol there. And so we're going to pull that off the board and see what it says. It's a phantom. It only requires... Oh, this is perfect. God, man, we're getting lucky on these monsters. See, it requires, actually, her special symbol, the magic symbol, and it only requires a 1. But it says, before battling, suffer 1 bad wound. That's the vicious wound that is harder to heal. But if she successfully rolls 1 of these, she gets a victory point. She could ignore this, but I don't think we're going to. I want to show you how this works. So let's go to the dice bowl and first do the effect, and then go to the dice bowl and take care of the monster. So the wound tokens are double-sided. On one side they have a heart, on the other side they have the really bad wounds. I think what we're going to do with this on this wound is we're going to put it on her develop slot so that she can move next turn and not have to worry about spending. Well, she's probably going to spend a rest action to get rid of it anyway, but because it's bad news. But anyway, that's what's going to happen to her. Now we're going to. She could now, remember, use this Crow's Shroud to avoid this encounter. But since it's really specially suited to her, we're going to roll her special dice and which is very likely to succeed for her, I think we're going to take the chance to get the victory point. Okay, here we go, guys. Boom. We're going to roll the three basic dice and her special blue die. And bummer, she did not get it. So she is going to suffer. Not only did she lose, but there's she already suffered the effect before rolling, so there's nothing else to lose here. But this creature stays where it is. Now it's going to be face up. Everybody gets to know what it is now. So Geralt knows what that monster is there and knows not to go face it. But she did, unfortunately, lose her roll there, and that kind of sucks. So guys, that was our first turn of the Witcher adventure game. My plan is to do the full playthrough and complete the 2 quests for you and play the game out. Again, this is a learning session for me. Even though, as I said, I've played the online version. It is interesting because it is the same game, but when the game itself online or on the computer version is managing some things for you, when I read the rules, it's like, oh, how do you do that? Like, one thing we didn't even talk about is this threat track. So if for instance, when Geralt moves next turn, there's not going to be a threat in the region that he's in. So we're going to move that threat track, and a new monster will then appear for his region. And different things will appear as the game goes on, and that threat track will move. Whenever we can't encounter, whenever there's no obstacle in a region to encounter of the 6 regions. So anyway, pretty cool, right? This is a neat game. It's got some great mechanics. It's going to be a fun playthrough, and I look forward to playing it through with you guys. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy this one. I think I will, and I'm a big fan of The Witcher. I played both the first and second computer game of it so far, and I've already pre-ordered the third one, and can't wait to get that on my computer and play it, even though from a computer game standpoint I'm totally buried in Dragon Age Inquisition, which is phenomenal. But that's not what we're doing today. We're playing board games. So thanks for watching, guys, and I hope to see you on the next one. That should be up soon because I'm going to do some turns quickly and get some stuff up for you.